she with you?
I thought she was with you.
Hello, welcome back to Holding Court with the Nerd Queens. We are here with Snyder's Amazons today, and we have Meg.
Sup, y'all?
Kat.
Hi, guys. Meow.
Adrian.
Hi, everybody.
And as usual, it's me, Cole, and
Nana here.
And Danny will be joining us shortly. So, Nana, you want to jump into what we're going to talk about today?
All right, so we got quite a lot to cover. Our main topic of today will be fan favorite and mainly our favorite, Man of Steel. We're going to break that down, but before we do, girls, last week, what the hell? That was insane, right?
Yeah, I got carpal tunnel now, so.
all the tweeting. But it was crazy. I mean...
And I need a neck massage because, you know, my face has been glued to the phone for, like, the whole week. So, like, you know, my neck's really tight and I need a neck massage. You know that one. I know Meg knows. Did you see the video of Sergio's, with Henry Cavill in the background? The guy's giving a rough neck massage. And I was like, I'm thinking, I need one of those because
what we do for art.
Yes.
You know what? I feel like I haven't slept at all last week because
I was
it was literally work and then tweet.
And you know what? I still feel like I haven't slept because not sleeping well because I feel like, oh, what if like something happens in the middle of the night or somebody decides to post something? So I
stayed up until 3 a.m. waiting for Henry Cavill to post. That's all I'm gonna say.
I was up till 4 a.m. So.
You know what, girls? It's especially because I'm in the UK, so you got the time zones and everything. It was just like, sleep? What is sleep?
Because I know that he wakes up my time, 3 a.m. my time. That's the time he wakes up in London. So I know I'm a sleeper.
Nice.
That's like I was waiting till 4 just to see, but then I got so tired and I was like, I need to go to sleep.
That's really logical, actually.
Yeah. And then I would wake up and be like, oh my god, I missed something.
I know, that's how I think. Like, I'm like, okay, what time there?
Well, in case anyone who's listening actually, by the slim chance, doesn't know what the hell we're talking about, basically last week was the week leading up to the 2-year anniversary of the Justice League being released in theaters. And so on Monday, I think it was, released the Snyder Cut Twitter, said, hey, let's get it trending. And so everyone was like, you know what? Bet. Let's do it.
No, hang on. Monday we started celebrating Gal, but the first no notice start was Friday or Saturday, I think.
Friday, because I actually cried on Friday night.
And I was like, girls, we're going now.
Wasn't it even Thursday? Oh my god!
All I know is
I don't know. Something happened on Friday. Zach posted something on Friday that made me legit cry. Like I was.
It was the photo with Iris and Barry.
Right.
Yeah. And then there was something else, like more.
Jason posted on Thursday, didn't he? Or was that Wednesday?
And
it's all a blur. It's all a beautiful blur. It is. It's so beautiful.
Okay.
You got an hour. Let's go. And it was just like
I was crying
for an hour every day of last week. We basically had to spam tweet or like get it trending on Twitter, and we did every single day. And then Sunday on the anniversary itself is when the world exploded and things really got interesting.
Oh my god. Girls, how did you feel?
We've earned this film.
Yeah. How did you feel when you saw Gal and Ben post? Because I screamed on
cried.
Lungs.
It was rad.
I screamed.
I squealed. And I jumped up out of my chair squealing. My cat got scared. She jumped off the bed and away from me to the corner of the room, wondering what the hell is wrong with me. And I was just sitting there squealing, like, in disbelief. I was just like, oh my god. Like, you would have thought that I was on some kind of drugs or something. Like, if you saw me.
It felt like it.
I opened up Twitter and I saw that, like, someone said, like, no way Gal posted the hashtag, and I was like, oh my fucking god, no way. So I went to Instagram. It was the first thing that popped up, and I legit was like laughing and crying at the same time, because I was like, I as much as I love her, it's like she's the last person I expected out of them all.
That's pretty much. That was pretty much my reaction.
We didn't expect Ben to post.
Yeah, Ben was the last person we expected, but
no, I actually expected Ben to post because he's not with Warner. He doesn't have any obligation to them anymore. He's doing his own thing. Like, I expected Ben to post. I mean,
I didn't expect Gal at all.
I wasn't expecting him to do some nice, comments. Like, I really did expect him to just do the hashtag. That's totally Ben Affleck style. Like, that's him.
I noticed that too.
Like, we expected him to, like, actually, like, we expected him to say something if he could, like, on the DL, but not actually come out and post like that, like on his Twitter with his verified handle and everything, because like we know he's a supportive friend. We went to the Kevin Smith panel last year, and we got to hear this like really amazing story about Kevin Smith and Ben's like relationship and friendship, and it was like a really good like eye opener onto Ben as a person. So like we knew he wanted to, but we didn't expect he would actually get the chance. Gal posting, though, was definitely a big surprise. My reaction, the first second I saw it, I was about to send a picture to you guys, and I said, hang on, I don't see the verified check mark, so I stopped everything. I literally stopped walking in the middle of the museum I was in and went onto her Instagram to check it to make sure it was actually real. And when I saw it was real, I started, like, dancing in place. I was like, yay! But I think the full roundup of people who posted that day was Ray Fisher, Jason Momoa, Ben Affleck, Gal Gadot,
Ezra via Zach, because he doesn't have social media.
Yeah,
even though it's on Friday, it's part of the whole weekend celebration thing.
We can kind of count Ezra in, though we really wish he made social media just for that. Even if he, like, deleted it a few days later.
Yeah. Right. If by any chance you guys listening to this and you haven't actually been around last week, like you've been somewhere in a cave, or I just don't know where you would have to be to miss it, but still, if you did miss it, Cole made really, really cool video earlier today that sums up every big voice that supported the campaign throughout Sunday mostly. So we're gonna link it underneath this video so you can check it out. It's pretty cool, and if this talk doesn't get you hyped up, that video sure will, because it's awesome.
That video is amazing, by the way. Thank you for making that. It's very beautiful tribute, and it's just so well done.
Thank you.
I like it.
Also, the Film Exiles podcast. That one was amazing. I finally listened to the third part. It was great.
Emotional.
Adrian, thank you for your part on it, and you passed on the message. It was fantastic.
They really do get us in our feels. It's true. I wasn't expecting that, but it's them talking about it, and all the bloggers and all the things and everybody against it, and just how unfair. I was not expecting to be, like, literally almost in tears, like, listening to it. So that
it's emotional. We've been at this a long time.
Yes.
Yeah. But it's also, like, the way that Chris, and it's just how the guys...
The way they present it.
Describe the things that we've done, It made me sit back and be like, holy crap, what we've done is something awesome, and it's big, and it's definitely not just sort of... some little amateur nothing somewhere in the corner of the internet.
The first one was Chris and is his name Lupe, and then Ramesh at the end, and then of course Fiona. But Lupe and Chris are the two main ones, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Tell them that I loved it. The whole presentation, everything, the way they described it, like they got me in all of my feelings.
Yeah, we all feel the same way about it. Yes, definitely. I will.
I enjoyed that.
Great.
Hey, it looks
Beautiful.
like Danny has
awesome.
popped in. Hey, babe.
Hello.
Hi,
We can actually
oh my
hear
God,
you.
everything's working.
Oh, fantastic. How are you, girls?
Good. How are you?
Great.
Better now that you're here.
Awesome.
Okay, now that we officially have the super fans of Man of Steel in our party online, should we segue into talking about the movie?
I think it's a great time too. So let's talk Man of Steel, ladies. Alright, so any opening lines you'd like to start with? I'm gonna turn to Kat and to Danny because you guys have been the most vocal out of all of us about this film, so I'll
opening
let you
lines
start. Well, opening lines, opening conversations, you know.
Oh, okay.
What do you want
Danny
to say?
can go first.
What do you want to say about Man of Steel? Tell us how you really feel.
Oh, okay. Where do I start?
Do you girls have 4 hours?
Right. Thank you. Oh, we hope it's enough. Okay. Well, when I got to Man of Steel, I still wasn't really sure who Zack Snyder was. So I was more caught into the traditional Superman movies, but still with so many doubts about how Clark Kent was portrayed, how everything was so unreal. It was nothing that you could see in this world. So I had that like model of Superman on the cinematic universe. So I got to Man of Steel, and the first scene that I see is this Clark Kent wandering the Earth, wandering the planet, looking for himself. And I was like, wow, that man is human. That's the first thought that came to my mind. And there came the crash. I got an immediate crush. I fell in love completely. Some people I have heard that they don't like humanized Superman. Well, I say, how can you be comfortable with a character or fictional or in reality that goes above your head flying that you don't know nothing about? That was the main issue always with Superman for me. So, see this man had doubts and wonders and had a mother who was present, leading the way of the father figure who was, to me, so down to earth. And, of course, I think I've said it before, Lara's death was, I don't know, I have a huge crush on the movie. And I think it's one of the best comic book movies of all time. So I think I'm going to stop now.
Oh, no, you're going to have plenty of time to speak. But no, I completely agree. I actually, when you speak about it, what I want to say, what first caught my attention about Man of Steel, because I remember when I first watched it was with Cole, and we were really sick. That is in no other, like, there's like no direct connection between us being really sick and Man of Steel. Actually, we were just really sick, and
it just happened to be the day I showed it to her because we were lying in bed puking for like the whole day from food poisoning.
But
and we happened to watch that.
I remember, like Danny, I had no big interest in Superman film. Like, don't get me wrong, I mean, I am fairly new to comics, but at that point I did have my favorite comics and all this stuff, and I must admit I am kind of more of a Batman girl, and I had a similar thing that Danny had, where it was just Superman, whenever I saw it around, was like, he was very alien, and not in a sense that he's an alien, he was very unrelatable to me. He was not human. He was just, very, like, it was really hard for me to get closer to that character because of that. But then that opening where we see Krypton and we see the culture of Krypton and everything in that film, it somehow just, like, suddenly I felt really closer to the whole thing. just to see that opening sequence on Krypton and be like, oh my god, you know, that it made it much more real in my eyes, you know, that whole Krypton culture and everything. It just made it suddenly like, oh yeah, this makes sense, if that makes sense in any way, shape, or form.
It does.
It also resonated with me in a way that I remember, because I'm a history freak on many fronts, and I remember there's this historical event in my country that happened in 1939, just before the Second World War, and that's when this British Sir Nicholas Winton, he helped hundreds of children from my country escape. Just before Second World War, all these children would probably die in concentration camps, but they didn't, because he transported them out of the country. And there is a film about it as well, and documentaries and everything. And you see the people, the parents, giving up their children for them to have hope and live on. And that scene where they decide to send Kal-El away, it just kind of really hit me hard, because that was one of the events that I really studied and was really interested in, and it just rung a bell, if that makes sense. So in that moment I was like, okay, yeah, I'm into this movie.
In that moment they had your attention.
Yes. So yeah, definitely it like Man of Steel humanized Superman in my eyes, made him somehow more real, more relatable, more likely.
Because we got to see a range of emotion in him instead of just being a one-dimensional, you know, I have everything all solved.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I liked how in Man of Steel, one of my favorite attributes of the Superman is that he wasn't perfect. He struggled. He had insecurities with him in himself. He's the most powerful man on this planet, and he still struggles with who he is and what he wants to be. And I don't think I've really ever seen a Superman portrayed that way before. And like Cole and Danny and everyone has said, it really humanizes him, and you connect better. Well, at least I do. I connect better with this iteration of Superman than any before. Like, you look back at 1978, Richard Donner's Superman, and you can see a difference between Clark and Superman was like perfect in those movies. Like, didn't really have a flaw, didn't really struggle within himself, and I never could connect with that. I like it when heroes struggle with their own purpose and whether or not they should be doing what they're doing.
Because it gives you a message. It gives you a message. If they can struggle and still be heroes, so can you. I think that's like a basic message. That
Can I bring up the truck?
Yes,
as an example.
Performance livelihood.
I love it. It was Friday night. It was a long day. Mistakes were made.
Mistakes.
It's funny.
That was the
like
best.
people accuse the films too, not having any humor, and that's hysterical. For all we know, Ludlow, he had to leave wherever they are, go live with his brother, and go work at his business, and he's fine.
Yes.
He's not bothering anybody else in a bar ever again.
oh my god, that was a good one. Yeah, that was like at that point. Like when I saw that, I was just like, "Are you seriously? Is this how far we've come now? Is that like, are we picking it scene by scene just to find something to shit on, or
you're getting mad at the dude who stuck up for a woman for getting sexually assaulted, but you're not mad at the dude that sexually assaulted someone."
Right.
Yeah.
And then on Twitter, there was comments. This is what had me so mad. They were saying that she asked for it. I've heard multiple comments that she asked for it. So I found a GIF where it says, "Stop it, Ludlow," like she's, moving her hand away. Like, clearly any normal human being that is saying no. She's not asking for it. She is blatantly saying no. So I put that GIF into my thing, and it was like, they're like, oh yeah, you have a point. Now show that guy in that thread that this is what they're talking about. Like, this is not, they're forgetting this. I mean, like, it's just.
What did they want him to do in that situation? Beat the guy up?
Right.
Like, I don't understand. What other alternative?
Then they'll complain about that because they're saying he's a alien, a super alien, and he could really hurt the human. Like, they will complain about that. Like, no. Like,
it's the same thing when they complain about Batman beating up, people like that are down on society.
You remember that scene in Superman 4, I think, where Superman lost his powers and then he gets them back, and then he goes take revenge of the one who
he beats up that guy in the diner.
That's okay with people. I don't understand. That's okay with people. I don't get it.
It's because he's probably smiling,
Yeah, with a big smile. Yeah,
he's probably smiling.
I think it's because they don't actually remember the older films. It was like, you guys haven't watched that since, you were kids or something.
I don't know. I'll be honest, Adrian. I think for some of them, it's just because Zack Snyder didn't shoot.
Thank you. Those are the next words out of my mouth. I swear to God, those are the next words out of my mouth. That they walked in, they said it's a Zack Snyder movie, and because of that, we're going to go in with a closed mind and criticize everything.
And just it's not Christopher Reeve as Superman, it's somebody else.
It's somebody else, and it's a Zack Snyder movie. Like, they go in with a preconceived notion that it's going to be bad. They don't even try to convince themselves that it's good. Like, they stick to that narrow-minded mindset that it's going to be bad, and then they'll pick on every little scene, every little thing that they thought could have been done better. But I have something to tell you guys. This
fucking
film
awesome.
Is a 10 out of 10. Nothing could be done better. Nothing.
Yeah. I think it happens a lot with comic book movies. A lot of fanboys go to the theater expecting to find what they saw in the comic, and give the movie a chance. I have to clear the mind a little bit because a movie is a different perspective. It's
but I remember Zack Snyder making a comment somewhere where he said that he makes films for more than just comic book fans. You can go into the movie not reading the comics, and you will still understand. That's what I like about Zack Snyder, because I don't read comics at all. I know you guys all do, but I don't. And, I mean, the only other Superman I know is, from the older one, the Donner one, and then that, who's that guy? Superman Returns. Roth. Yeah. That's the only one that I know of, like, through movies. So,
well, and when you make it like too comic accurate, that's boring because I've already read this. I already know what's going to happen.
That is so boring. For live action, you have to. Nobody wants to watch a live action cartoon. Not really.
Exactly.
People that say they do will not show up for it.
Jokes that work in comic books don't work in movies.
It's not comic book, but I still think like Zack has this talent where he can make the film in the way that even non-comic book readers can watch it and understand it and take stuff.
In an interview.
But then you look at certain frames and it's literally like you take it out of the comic book. And that's insane. Like when I mean, I'm bringing my Forever Love for Watchmen, and I explained to girls the other day why, but that film, when you look at it, like, it's frame by frame or so much time. It's frame by frame from comic book, and you're just looking at it, you're like, how did you do this?
Their account, Zack versus movie versus comics, or something like that. They do a really good job doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, the Twitter page, Zack V Comics.
Is that one. Exactly.
Yep, he has a Vero account too.
Yeah.
Really good. The Zack V Comics guy?
Yeah, he has a Vero account as well.
Something I've always really appreciated about Zack is that a lot of people, they'll get it. We see this with books, with movies turned into books turned into movies. We see this with comic book movies. We see this with anything where you're adapting one medium into the other. Where lately it's became the norm to basically, especially with comic book movies, to basically not pay any sort of tribute or respect to the source material. With Zack, that's never been the point of it. He put every single thing he's done has had a source material, whether it was Dawn of the Dead, 300, etc. It all came from something else, and he somehow manages to give us a film where you can just walk in knowing nothing about this character and have fun watching the movie, but also he manages to pay such an amazing tribute to source material. Like Nana just said, he literally takes from page to screen identical.
And I find it hilarious.
Makes it all a Renaissance painting.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. But, I find it hilarious because then people come in and they're like, oh, he's not comic book accurate. That's one of the most common complaints about his work that I find. His characters are not comic book accurate. And then I look at it and I hate comparing, but I have to bring it up again. Look at Marvel Universe. How many of those characters are comic book accurate?
They started. They literally, like the thing with the Marvel Universe, they started out strong and then they started going downhill.
It's like Peter.
Where is Uncle Ben?
I know they have problem with rights and that they can't do all that stuff, but then don't bring that character at all. It's like it's not Peter Parker. That's not Spider-Man. What you've got in the Marvel Universe. That's the opposite of Spider-Man with Spider-Man suit. That's just not Spider-Man.
The real Spider-Man is Rami's Spider-Man, and that's it.
Yes.
Honestly, I'm a huge...
I don't care about any
I love Andrew Garfield.
If we're taking a moment just to mention Spider-Man, my favorite Spider-Man is Andrew Garfield. I'm not sorry.
Me too.
I love both movies, and I like both of the older Spider-Mans. But see, what Zack does is capture the essence of the character and brings that to screen in cinematic glory, as opposed to just comic book accuracy where you have like constraints. It's just like a copy and paste. What's really incredible with his work is that you look at people like Henry Cavill and like Ben Affleck and Gal Gadot as three good examples. He somehow, I don't know how he did it. He looked at the comic books and he found a vision of each of these heroes he really liked. And then he looked at, I don't know if he did casting photos or he went into cinemas and watched movies, but he somehow saw these three individuals and said that was the one. And then,
I believe he already had Henry Cavill in mind.
And then then they get trained up and they get ready for the cinema. And they dress up, and it's like, holy crap! That person went from being a normal, average person to a literal carbon copy of the superhero. But it's made in a way where it's real.
It's with Henry. So, you see the first picture of him with that suit. It's like, he has an expression, but he needed the visual of Superman. And when you see with this dude after booking up, I mean, what the hell? He did a great job. Oh my God, I love that man.
And for all of the comic book gatekeepers, they have to know that after BVS and Man of Steel and even Justice League, illustrators for comics started drawing Wonder Woman exactly like Gal Gadot. Exactly like her. Her costume.
And didn't they do that for Superman too? Because on Twitter, I follow the Superman page, and the cartoon guy, he looks just like Cavill.
Yeah, the suits, the appearance of the characters,
the hair, even down
everything.
To the bone structure, like the cheek, jawline that you can cut diamonds with. Like, come on.
I mean, I'll never forget. I was on one discussion, and I think it was Facebook, but it was in Czech. But anyway, so here I am in this discussion, and somebody threw in I mean, to their defense, it was a Marvel fan site, but still. Somebody threw in that Affleck was not a good Batman, and I'm like, how? So here I am listing all the reasons why he was the best Batman, including the fact that he looks like he literally fell out of comic books. I mean, I could open any Batman comic book that I have here on a shelf, and he looks literally like he fell out of it. And
not only that, but he is the definitive
but
Batman
you know what was the argument?
and definitive Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, but you know what? She goes, no, it's okay. But she goes, her response to it was, yeah, exactly. He's too much like a comic book. And I was
oh
like,
my God.
That's a bad thing.
What?
I'm sorry, is that a bad thing? That's what I would have asked her.
I was like,
it's
what?
like there's no winning for losing with certain people with comic accuracy.
Comic accuracy? Exactly. What do they know of comic accuracy? Nothing at all.
I was looking at
I said it. I'm not sorry.
Just don't repeat what they don't. They just heard it and they repeat it, but they haven't really thought about it or know.
Yep.
All I could think about is like you're staring at this comment and you realize that you would sound really stupid whatever you say, so you decide to say this. Like that was the hottest take of the day, probably of the month, maybe of the year. Like that just killed me. So
yeah.
And like even with comic accuracy, like these heroes and stuff are drawn with pretty generic looking faces, so anyone realistically could look like any of these characters if you really try hard enough. So I just don't really get that argument of like, oh well, Gal doesn't look like Wonder Woman because her boobs aren't big enough or her eyes aren't blue, blah 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 blah.
It's very superficial.
Oh, it's so effing gross.
When Gal was casted, I was so mad at people saying that she doesn't have any hips to be like she's like she doesn't have hips or like a butt, you know. And I'm thinking to myself, what do you mean? Like the last Wonder Woman, she wasn't like, well, she was a little bit curvier, but like I don't know.
Linda Carter was just as slim. Had the same build as Gal.
Maybe just like a little curve, but like
she's just like shorter.
Yeah,
the
shorter,
thing
so
with
it showed up more. But I wanted to be like that.
Like,
obviously,
why would you want to trade?
Perfect.
Why would you want to trade epic mythology
for
and
big
this
boobs,
cinematic poetry
and big size,
minuscule, like nitpicky, superficial details? I don't understand that.
Like the thigh thing made me so mad. I was like, oh my God. I was like, leave her alone. I remember thinking, like, you don't need to have thick thighs for everything. Just let her be. It's
as
fine.
if she's not one of the most beautiful people in the world.
Yeah.
And
30 miles of legs and they notice the hips. Oh my God.
You know,
and satisfied people.
I mean, they have that beautiful face and they look at the hips too. Okay, come on.
Yeah.
The thing the thing they did with Linda Carter was that they just her costume was fabric. It was soft it was spandex.
Mm-hmm.
And then they used a belt to cinch in her waist to give her the imitation of large hips.
Yep.
So when Gal was first cast, she was mostly a model at the time. She just finished with Fast and Furious. And her character in Fast and Furious is really skinny. But it's like first off, when she starts,
and I believe I read somewhere she gained 20 pounds of muscle, pure muscle.
She trained up, she gained muscle, and also she went and had a goddamn baby. So her hips got bigger than did get big, but like that doesn't matter. She literally like came into the role perfectly, and she has her armor is made of leather, so it's a completely different way. Like you can't even compare their two body types. They're just two queens, literally.
And you shouldn't have to compare them. They're both beautiful and they're both perfect. I don't understand why, just because she didn't have huge boobs and a big butt and whatever, that doesn't diminish that she's literally Wonder Woman. Like, I cannot see anybody else as her.
Yeah, if they ever recast her, I'll cry.
I will riot.
I'll cry.
Meg will go to Warner Brothers. I know Meg. She will go there, drive there, take a plane there, train there. I don't care. She's gonna get there and she's gonna stomp into and Selena's office.
I'd be like, sis, come on.
Listen, lady.
Well, what's interesting with DC versus the MCU is that we had images of Wonder Woman with Christopher Reeve and Linda Carter as part of Americana, right?
Yeah.
Something that the MCU didn't have to go up against. You know, with Iron Man or Black Widow or whatever, there weren't big popular, things that have been around for 20 years and everybody knew them. So Zack was up against that and still hit casting out of the park. I don't understand the criticism, so.
Yeah. Oh, I don't understand at all. Bunch of haters.
Fuck them.
So back to Man of Steel.
Yeah, I was about to say, so we were supposed to be talking about Man of Steel, but we don't, nothing better than going off on a tangent about Wonder Woman. But what I wanted to say earlier was that one of the things that I really love about the whole truck scene wasn't just the fact that he steps forward and he protects the woman, is that his reaction was over the top. But I think his reaction was over the top because more to do with the fact that he is frustrated. When we first meet Clark, he's just, like, everyone gets angry because he's, like, moody and stuff. It's like, listen, he is a young 20-something. He's trying to figure out...
Actually, he's supposed to be 32 in the movie.
Oh, is he? Okay. Well, he's a 30... Yeah. Regardless, he's a young adult. He's a 30-something. He's trying to figure out who the hell he is. He doesn't know who he is, what he is. He doesn't know where he came from, and he doesn't know what these powers do, and he's afraid to get close to anyone, because what if he accidentally, breaks someone in half by just giving them a hug?
Yeah, I'd risk it.
And it's like, yeah, I know. But, like, and you can see that in the opening scenes where he's like he's going to these different places because he's trying to learn, and you can't just travel around without getting money, so he's getting odd jobs. And then, like, you can see him snap when it at the trucks with the truck situation, and he has to let some of that out. So it's like, hey, you're a douchebag. I'm going to ruin your day. In the best.
And also, it shows what power he was holding back.
Yeah, and also
he held back so much power in the bar that it's only natural to try to let it out somehow, not on people, but on the truck.
Yeah, and the fact that the trucks
were fine with me.
Yeah, no one was in the trucks. No one got hurt. I mean,
no one got exactly like it's.
But it was really beautifully passive aggressive, the kind of thing I would do.
Same.
I relate so much.
This is exactly the type of thing I would have done.
I aspire to that level of petty.
He's got to have insurance, right?
Hopefully.
Honestly,
they could file it under Act of God.
Supernatural experience.
It's an unnatural disaster. Isn't there really something called unnatural disaster somewhere in one of those forms?
Actually,
that's natural disaster. So maybe there can be an unnatural disaster, and they can do that.
I like the Act of God. That was a good one.
So, but after the whole thing with the truck and all that, when the first introduction to Lois Lane, we see that she is a badass. I just love how, like, the first few sentences she says are basically, if we're done measuring dicks, we can get on with it.
Oh, yeah.
Now, if you guys are done measuring dicks, can you show me what you got? That's what she says.
Hell yeah.
It's like, now that we've established that I am the alpha in the room. I was like, when I first listened,
there's a funny part where she goes to Clark. She's like, oh, be careful, my bags are heavy.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, they do those shock ducks face.
He's just like, he kind of gave like that nod, like, okay, like.
Yeah. Sure thing, lady.
Like, right, like. But like the way she said it, she's like, oh, be careful, those bags are heavy. Like, all like warning.
Watch your bag.
I think another thing that really bothered me about these gatekeepers with Man of Steel, especially with Lois Lane, is they bitched and complained about how Amy Adams looked too old to be with Henry.
But that was that was Zack Snyder's point, that Lois Lane was supposed to be older than Clark Kent.
Yeah.
That was part of the movie.
And excuse me,
hang on a second.
Amy Adams is beautiful.
Can we just wait? Hang on. Let's just roll that back a little bit, because I never heard that before. Now,
heard what
people?
Yeah, that's true.
One of my favorite shows of all time is Lois and Clark: The New Adventures of Superman, where Terry Hatcher plays Lois Lane, and she looks so much older than Dean Cain as Clark Kent. Like, you cannot... She looks older than Amy Adams at the same age. Like, I love her. She's amazing. She's perfect. She's a goddess herself. But how can you look at those two and praise that show so much, because people praise the hell out of it, and then say Amy Adams looks way too old to be with Henry Cavill? What?
No, she
because
probably
2 words,
just looks a
Zack
few years.
Snyder.
Exactly.
She only looks a few years older than Henry in the movie.
Yeah, she looks like they're in the same age group, honestly. Like,
and you know what? I want to know what the people look like that are saying that she looks too old. Show me a picture of you, okay? Because Amy Adams.
You know what they're
You don't say that to Amy Adams. I don't think nobody should say that to Amy Adams. Possibly Oscar winner, I don't know, 6 years in a row? I mean, come on, top tier actress.
Oscar nominee.
How do you say that? Yeah.
And my thing is that, what did you wanted Henry Cavill to be with someone that's what, like 18 or something? Just to fulfill some weirdo fantasy?
That won't even make sense for this movie.
Yeah, and
she's the experienced reporter. She's lived the real life.
And I feel like women in Hollywood already have it bad enough when they get past like 30 getting roles anyways. So I think people should be celebrating that Amy is in a big blockbuster like franchise like this as an older woman. I mean, she's not even that old, but in Hollywood standards, she's older.
With her natural beauty.
Yes. And it just blows my mind.
And at the time of filming, she was 39, 40 at the time.
Yeah.
Imagine.
It's just, sorry, that's my
Henry
rant,
Cavill was 29, 30.
Yeah.
29, 30 at the time.
Yeah.
So they've got like a 10-year. Me and Danny know because we...
I was going to say, why am I not surprised you know all these factoids?
Like, I know, the
girl,
fact is
seriously,
that the
you
age
riled up today.
This is just something I have in the back of my head. It's just always been there. It's like, I just know. Same with Danny. Like, whenever Danny, like, she says yes, like, that means I'm right. Because she's just like me, like, fact checker with everything.
We should have just made this Danny and Kat special.
No, please.
You need a moment alone, you two.
But what?
No, but see, I've never actually even bothered to notice like any sort of age difference or anything. It's like there's so much in those films to focus on that like age difference is the last thing that would come
I think Zach wanted you to notice it, but to notice it he made it very subtle, not like in your face. But I think he wanted it to be known very subtly that she's an experienced, slightly older woman.
I mean, we know that she's got Pulitzer. We know that she's, she's very accomplished and she's done something in her life. So, I mean, it comes as a logical conclusion that she's older than him. I mean, unless she would be some sort of super talented, I mean, she is super talented, but you know what I mean. It's just what she's done in her career is something that she would have to work on for years.
Yeah.
Well, then one of the things that's laid on her shoulders when she discovers who Clark really is, it's sort of on her shoulders to keep the secret of who the alien on the planet is.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big weight on her shoulders.
That's a big weight on her shoulders.
That she handles with maturity.
Yeah.
Well, running out of her apartment from the FBI.
Yeah.
I love that part though, by the way. It's like, I'm Lois Lane. I'm not going to go in with, I'm not going to get my handcuffed in my house. They're going to handcuff me because I'm on the run. That's Lois Lane.
Yeah.
Danny,
I'll grab my bag and run away.
run. Like that's the typical Lois Lane. Yeah, she's like a good girl, listening, listens to rules and stuff, but she has her own way of doing it, and that her way of when she got caught by the FBI. That to me is Lois Lane. That is Lois Lane.
Yeah.
I think people underestimate.
She's courageous and she's not afraid to face anybody, and I think that's such a vital and important part of the character, and that's why I loved it so much in Man of Steel, and then obviously in Batman v Superman after that. It's just she is fierce. She's not scared, and it's like you see this character, and she doesn't have any superpowers, and she's not a superhero in that.
But her determination and focus and drive and ambition, all of that is just top notch.
In a way, exactly, and it's just in a way like when I was doing, because obviously I was interviewing with BBC. You girls know that. Some of the people who listen to us probably don't. I did not get the job, a lot of the stuff that I did was inspired by her amongst other people, because I do have journalists in my life, but. With her, it was like, I've seen it in the film. It was like, okay, you want to, the part of her, the integral part of her as a journalist and as a woman, she stands up to absolutely anything. She just doesn't care at all. Well, she cares, but she doesn't care as far as to, what's going to happen to me.
She's the type of person she'll do literally whatever it takes to get the job done.
Yeah.
And that's how you know. That's how you know she belongs with Clark. I mean, she stands against the military, the government, whatever she comes in her path, she stands and she keeps her ground. So that's how you know. That's the perfect woman for Clark.
She is the definitive Lois Lane. Definitive Lois Lane. Out of all the ones in the movies, out of all the ones in TV shows, none of them compare. Amy Adams, definitive Lois Lane. And that will be for the rest of time.
Yes.
One of the things that I've been thinking about lately, and specifically about Superman, is how, starting with Man of Steel, you see him as a baby, and how all of these different key players and relationships happen in his life. With Martha and Jonathan, and then his friends growing up, and then when he's, a wanderer and saving people, and then you get to Lois, and and then how everybody responds. Like we keep getting to see Clark and how he has to deal with all these different relationships, even when then when you get to BVS and he faces Batman and everything, and all these other characters and stories, and him winning everybody over to his hope and perspective and that kind of thing, makes the character stronger. Do you know what I mean? That we get to see that in the movie, as opposed to already fully developed. And so it's seeing all these different relationships and all these different characters, like when we get to Cyborg and whatever else that we don't see yet, that they that Cal is still the cornerstone and spine of Zack's full arc, that of the 5 films, and that I don't know that I would want just a trilogy of Superman movies where there's some bad guy, he fights one bad guy, then fights another bad guy. That would be boring. But to see all the core relationships of these films are, to me, that would make it the most interesting.
While him still being a vital part in the films. Oh, did you hear me? While him still being just whatever Adrian just said, I wanted to add on, while him still being a vital part of those films. Absolutely. Even though they're not Man of Steel 1 or 2 or 3, he's still, no matter who you add in, he's still the core person of the film.
You still see Suicide Squad with that tied in with what?
Because of his death and
right, the impact. It's still
the impact that it had.
The entire complex, that DCEU was not just about superheroes and all that stuff, and especially on Clark's journey on that whole thing, we see it asking bigger questions, or real world questions that we're facing in the world where we are now. And again, I've said it in so many our episodes before. That's what I love about Zack's work with these films, is that while they are fantasy, or, you know, they are not from reality, they ask real questions, and they make us think about how it would have been, how it would have played out should it happen to us in this world right now as we are. And like, I think that that's what makes it so good, these films, to me, that it's asking the real questions. Every time I watch it, every time I watch Man of Steel, every time I watch Batman v Superman, I have to spend hours and hours just thinking about these things, and I'm trying to think about them subjectively and objectively, and I'm just like, how would I feel? How would I act? You know?
Yeah.
And I think that's what makes it stick. That's what makes these films stick. That's what makes them films that you remember,
timeless.
That people talk about to this day.
Timeless, yes. Those are, I can already tell they're timeless movies. I know it's too early to classify them as timeless, but I'm going to classify them as timeless, both of them, because they are.
Oh, I'm with you on that, Kat.
They're already timeless.
You're not alone.
Yeah.
You are not alone, in Zod's voice. That was a terrible Zod's voice. I don't even do Zod's voice, so I don't know what voice I did. I did a cat grumbling voice. Here, let me try. You are not alone.
Alrighty then.
Oh, I'm so sorry, Zod. I let you down. I don't know how to do your voice.
Oh my God, this is turning into Amazon's
Shannon.
private chat all over again.
Yeah.
Michael Shannon.
I want to do Theora. She's like, evolution always wins.
Oh, she is
my favorite.
She is my third favorite character in that movie, even above Zod. So, oh my God, there's just something about her.
How you said the other day, what was it? Was that the episode with Sean O'Connell? You said that if it was Fiora and not Zod, she would kick his ass.
Oh yeah, if Zack was smart, he had to take out Fiora first and put her into the Phantom Zone so that Zod had a chance to die. Because if it was just Fiora and Superman, no way, no fucking way, Superman would be dead in 5 seconds, please. Like, there would be no fight. I mean, look at her hand-to-hand, like, combat. Like, she's just, like,
her speed.
Her agility. She could almost be, like a Catwoman type of thing, because her agility, it's like a cat, like, literally, from one to that, one spot to next spot, yeah. I mean,
and the psychological diminishing of the foe. I mean, you're evolutionist. You are under me. Evolution always wins and diminish and goes into his head and beat him up. And she's so
she plays
good.
like the head games, and she's. And another thing I like about her is that no matter what scene she's in, she can have, people attacking her, bullets being thrown at her. She maintains a cool, calm composure. Like, she's got, like, that best poker face. Like, she's got that, like, after somebody, piles bullets on her, she like, just turns and gives them a smile, like, I just think she's badass.
Hey, I don't know if you guys noticed that, but when Fire Emblem first met Kyle, she looks at him like head to toe.
Oh,
a complete scan. Like, did you notice that smile?
And she scanned at the package. Yeah. She scanned at the package. I counted. So going from up to down at the bottom, it was one second. I want to say 1.5 to 1 second. However, as soon as it got to Superman's package, it was a good 2 to 3 second delay.
Yeah.
Good 2 to 3 second delay.
There was definitely a smile there.
I counted because I was like, this chick is on to something. I'm like, let's count and see.
I just love that Kat and Danny pick up these things.
Well, like every little detail to this movie, I just know. Oh my gosh, I love it.
Well, I love that she starts psyching him out about the fact that he has a sense of morality.
Yeah.
And that it's that she's the one that brings that up.
Yeah, she's like, you have a sense of morality while we do not.
Mm-hmm.
The evolutionary advantage.
That gives us an evolutionary advantage. And then she goes on to say, evolution always wins.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then the part where she plays mind games with him. You are weak, son of Belle. Unsure of yourself. Punch.
And she's right. Yeah.
And then she picks it up and then
she's right.
She's like, history has taught you.
We should all just get parts. And like in a bonus episode, we can just recite the film.
She grabs him and says,
if you do it on the day I'm tired, I'll be Laura.
Evolution has taught you history always wins. And then she slams him into the bank vault.
Oh my god.
I love this.
And then not only that, she speeds her way in front of the bank vault.
Yeah.
She's already there before he's
We'd be way too into it. We're at different locations. And privately we would be acting out the entire movie.
I'm sorry.
I think there needs to be a video that just catches us all, like Superman perspective.
This is like number one favorite movie, like my favorite movie of all time. I have every detail now. I will act out every scene when I need to.
We would do it with such love.
I can't do it.
You're gonna have to edit out all this laughing.
No, I don't really edit that stuff out.
It makes it enjoyable.
Document it then for all eternity.
You wish
that because they see that we're acting out.
Y'all wish I edited it out.
I mean, Feora, she's another, example of an empowered female, an empowered villain. Yeah, she's a villain, but she's still somebody who's. You've got to respect her. You've got to respect her determination, her ambition. No matter, even though her goals is now something we should strive for, but the way she is as a person, the determination, kind of the cold exterior. She's a badass, and she's.
But you can also see where she's coming from. I mean, that's why I think that's why the Krypton scene was so important as well. Yes, it did establish Zod and Feora as villains, but in the same time, you can, when you see them then come for Clark, you can sort of be like, okay, I see where you're coming from.
But she is not like Zod, though, Feora. Zod is a little more emotional than Feora.
Yeah, but that she's coming from the part where she does want to save her own legacy,
Mm-hmm. That's true. Yeah. I thought you were saying like they're all the same. Like
no.
See where she's coming from, like coming from Krypton. Like wait, I'm like Zod's more emotional than.
No, not that way. What I mean is like you can basically see their intentions and you can relate to them in the way as
because they're born.
I what happens to me, but with that particular
what's their house name?
Krypton scene,
house name?
Zod.
Yeah, I relate to Zod a little bit.
Hang on.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was just trying to get you two to stop talking over each other for a second.
I just want to go back to the Zod part really quick because that ends the last thing that we were saying. So, that's. How you said, that's their purpose. Because they're born in the house of Zod, that's what it's ingrained in them, in their brain. No matter what, they have to save their planet. Yeah, no matter what dirty deed, no matter what, just because that's the house that they were born in.
Yeah, that's something that is briefly gone over in the show Krypton on Sci-Fi, is that the house Zod is literally exactly how Zod is in Man of Steel.
Mm-hmm. Their only goal is to protect the planet, their planet.
Oh, his first name is Drew Zod. Drew Zod the second. Sorry, Drew I was talking that. No, Danny, what were you saying? She forgot what she was saying?
Yeah.
I was asking. I asked what you were saying when I stopped you guys because you were talking over each other.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. What happens to me with Zod is that I put myself in this position. What could we do to bring back our loved ones or our kin back? But that's his purpose, right? It's in his blood, it's in his genes, but it's also a pretty relatable purpose, not his ways per se, but how far will you go to bring back your kin or your family, whatever your loved ones are? Because he is designed to care for his people. It's not evil per se. His ways are genetically imposed to him. So how far will you go to bring your kin back? I make myself that question oftenly, and I really don't know how far will I go to not keep my people safe or bring them back to wherever they are. So I think it's a great fall. So that's what I wanted to say.
And there it goes into perspective, like, that's the Zods, like that's what they want to do. But Cal, he was born in the House of El, so there's.
Well, not only that, he was born naturally, whereas Zod and everyone else from Krypton at that time was literally.
Yeah. But he's an El, though.
Yeah, but literally they were created through genetic manipulation.
Oh yeah. I keep thinking like. Yeah.
But as an El, not only is he with a good group of people, but he was also born the same way humans are normally born.
To pick and choose what they want to do.
With the choice, the free will. That's what Gal has that other Kryptonians do not have. He has the choice. He was given that choice by his parents, by the natural birth. He can dream. He can choose whatever he wants to be. And he chooses to be a savior. Yeah.
Be none of it. Mm-hmm.
Oh, exactly. That's right.
Can I bring up a line that Lois says that I don't know that we have talked much about either on Twitter or elsewhere?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Well, now that we know that Swanwick is Martian Manhunter, we can go back and watch Man of Steel and see it with fresh eyes because of that. And I've thought about, now that Zach has shown us hints about the 5 film
I have a confession. I've already watched Man of Steel 4 times after we were told that he is the Martian Manhunter. And all 4 times I've zoomed in, I've stopped the scenes, I'm trying to figure out what's clicking, what's not clicking, are there signs that were there from the beginning? Oh, I did a lot of research. I was Lois Laning. Lois Laning.
Well, I was thinking, when Lois and Clark kiss, and she says it's all downhill after the first kiss.
Yeah.
And I think about, what we see projected as far as Batfleck and et cetera, and the loss and everything that's ahead of them. Like when we first watched Man of Steel, I was like, oh, that's kind of sweet, but oh no, and now it feels so foreshadowing.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I agree. When I first saw it, before BVS, I was like, oh, that's kind of like, like a cutesy little thing. Like, hopefully the next kiss will be better, blah, blah, blah. But then when you see BVS and everything that's happened to them down the line, it makes sense. It fits.
Nothing is a coincidence with Zack Snyder.
Nothing is a coincidence. It's always, his mind is like, oh my God, it's like a top grade diamond. Like it's literally like top quality diamond, top grade diamond is what his diamond is, his brain. Okay, like, the genius. Did you see that one Twitter post where I said this is Zack Snyder's brain, and it's somebody opening up like a rare, like beautiful jeweled, like crystals and gemstones. It looks in the shape of a brain. None of you guys remember that?
Imagine it.
This is your brain.
I have to find it.
This is, remember what guy, American people, you remember when we were kids, there was that there was that commercial where someone would crack an egg and they would say, "This is your brain on drugs."
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the cracked open geode is the "This is your brain on Zack Snyder."
Yeah, completely method.
I need to find that tweet. It was, oh my god, it was like perfect. It was a pretty brain too.
Yeah. Oh, shiny. Yeah.
Kat, your nurse side is showing.
Yeah, the nurse talk where I'm like, pretty brain.
Look at that.
As long as it's a nurse and not your zombie side, we're okay. A different movie, girls. Different movie.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, what did I want to say? Okay, what I wanted to say, it was actually in the beginning, but I didn't get a chance to say it. From the beginning, from the first scene, I'm already crying. Because, I mean, I probably cried more than most people. I don't know why. I just get too involved into the characters, and I feel like the pain that they're having on screen is the exact pain that I'm having sitting in the theater. So I started crying when, Kal-El had to be sent away, and she's crying about it, and I was like, oh my god, I'm already like in tears in the first act, like in the first couple of scenes. I was like, and that like moment, like there's something in that moment where I was like, this, I don't know, that moment imprinted in me, where it's like, I'm going to like Clark no matter how he turns out, because I have this imprinted in me of this little baby boy and the mom suffering, and here he's going to be scared in Earth, and just from the beginning there's just something in that scene that was just like, I'm going to like this boy no matter how the movie turns out. Well, I knew it was Henry Cavill, but you know what I mean,
Yeah.
But that like left like just like right off the bat, like not many movies can do that, like right off the bat. Like, I mean, whew, I love that. So.
Yeah.
I think it was a good setup for that.
I tried to imagine once what would have been of baby Kyle if without the father and the mother figure. Thinking where he was coming from, and I imagined him discovering his powers on his own. If he ever felt threatened using his laser eyes, and I think how important was to build good parenting figures in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, how important is Jonathan Kent, for example, all his advisory. He shaped him, and people could say he imprinted fear in him, but he had to teach him how to be cautious. Because,
wait, who said they imprinted fear into him?
Hold on, someone.
Oh my god!
Yeah, that's like, tell me so I can fight him.
Yeah, that's Jonathan. Yeah, there's someone out there. Yeah, there's.
Their head out.
Yeah, there's someone out there who doesn't like that scene, and it was like, why? Parents do that, You're teaching the good and the bad things are gonna happen to you, and Jonathan has to teach him how to be cautious, because he has to care not only for the sake of the world. He's his child. He has to teach him how to be careful. And not to get hurt, and not to be. I'll shut up now.
No, it was a really great point.
Like how to balance between helping somebody without sacrificing himself or him exposing his powers, versus him not doing anything, and letting it all happen. Like, what's the give and take? What's the pros and cons of that? Like, he's had to teach him that,
Yeah, and like you were just saying, like, that's what a parent has to do. I mean, that immediately brought me back to, as girls, we're raised to know, like, walk to the car with your keys between your fingers, or don't leave your drink unattended at a party. Like, those are our parents teaching us things, because, yes, you do have to be taught certain things to be afraid, so that way you'll know not to let yourself get vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's for safety.
It's your realize that, you know, Jonathan Kent, he didn't know exactly who Clark is. He didn't know what his powers exactly are. He didn't know what would have happened should he be found. It's like people tend to forget this part. Well, when they look in the real world, if they had a child like this, they will hide that child as best as they possibly can, because they're going to lose the child otherwise. They're going to take that child away and do whatever experiments they do.
That's my fear, that they would take the child away, put it in some Area 59 bullshit area, some undercover thing, and do some crazy ass experiments and pretend that he never existed. And that's what I feel like. Some Area 59.
You make a little parallel, for example, and you jump to X-Men, for example. Those parts where they take the mutants away and they experiment with them. I think Jonathan had that image in his head.
Yeah, that's what and Martha too. She's like, I don't want them.
Not with the mutant per se, but they will hurt him. I mean, it's in the comic book history. There are people who are weird or strange with powers who are hurt. So how can you not understand this? That a parent say to a child, hide because you might get hurt, or you might hurt someone, or
you're gonna run into a mad scientist who's gonna abuse him.
Yeah, exactly.
I had never thought about that angle with how good of parents Jonathan and Martha were. The fact that they didn't shut him up, he had a normal life. That would have shown more weakness to them. That that's their alternative, is just to over shelter him, but to then they didn't do that. And I'd never thought about that before. You guys are,
and I think that goes into I would see them as religious people, even though we only seen the church scene like once. I assume for them to be very religious and to be people who put a lot of faith in God. And I think that's where they kind of were like, well, let's let him out a little bit. Like, we have faith, God will be on our side. And I mean, I know I'm going into religion and everything, but I just feel like there's a little bit of a religious aspect in that.
Well, yeah.
Well, I think they believe everything was happening for a reason. Jonathan says that we believe you were sent here for a reason.
Yeah, you remember that mom that went to the Kent, the mom of the kid who he saved when the bus, and she said, "It's an act of God, Jonathan." And he's like,
"This is providence."
Literally flies away. Yeah, and he hides and doesn't know. Yeah, he doesn't know what to answer to that, because he wants her to shut up. He wants her to say, "Yeah, don't say that. It's my kid. Leave him alone." Yeah. So he was right after that conversation to talk to his child, all filled with fear for him. So yeah,
and then that leads up to him talking outside in the truck, where he says that should I have let them die, and he says maybe, and that's a whole other topic that I think we've discussed in the last podcast. So we don't have to go over that again. But I think part of that.
I gave you the whole backstory for me, where for me this made so much sense, and then I hear from people it doesn't, and I'm just like, but this is like something my parents would have done, and it's just
And I only wanted to bring it up on this time was because of he just had a conversation with some lady saying that this is Providence, so. Like, he's just all confused, and he's probably scared inside that this lady's gonna find out, and that probably led to him saying maybe. Like, I see a connection like that. That's just me, and I feel like most people miss that connection, that he just came out of that heated conversation, and that's when he had said
it. It's literally where Clark asks him, "Should I have let them die?" And he's just like that. He's standing there, and he knows. I can't tell you that you should have let them die, but in the same time, I don't want the world to know about you. I don't want you in danger. So
they can't handle it, right?
There's one thing.
She said maybe, as in just like, I don't know what to do.
And there's always, as a parent, I say, you teach your kid the good and the bad. How should he act? At least I do it with my son. But there's always their free will. So that's why I think he doesn't say no. Don't save them. He said maybe because later you will have to make a choice. You see?
Yeah.
You see why it doesn't say don't do anything again. It does say maybe because later that man you're gonna become is gonna change the world. The scene has a context. You don't get to
people miss that content.
You don't get to define the scene with one word. There is a beginning and an end to that particular subject. So yeah,
I think too, like I was saying before about Clark and Cal, as we, all these different situations come up, what you're saying about the choice, and that's how I see all these different choices being brought to Superman. That's how we see that he's an ideal. He continues to make the ideal choice when it's presented to him.
Yeah, exactly.
These big philosophical.
Yeah.
He also grows throughout the film, and this another thing. Like, people would come and say, he did this. I mean, aside from the maybe scene, I know that the two other scenes that were complained about is the tornado scene, and then the one where he kills Zod. But the thing is that this entire film is the beginning of the story. He doesn't have the hold of things the way that the fully grown Superman has. He's discovering things as he goes, and he is growing. And I remember it was quite recently actually that I came across a tweet from Jay Oliver where he said, well, of course we depowered him because he is just getting to the stage where he is the beacon Superman. This is his journey. It starts with Man of Steel. It carries on with BVS, and we never got to see the rest of it. But it's just I'm sure that wherever this arc would end, he would be the beacon that people love from the comics. And the whole reason we didn't get it is because people are so goddamn impatient and can't wait to put all the dots together. Like, I think that's the problem.
Not just all the dots together, they want instant gratification.
Exactly.
In movies, I'm sorry, I do not want
audiences.
It's MCU fans like that. Like, they want instant gratification. No, I don't like that. I like the build up. I like the suspense. I like the series and putting together things, no matter how many movies it takes. And that's just, I have patience because it's worth the wait.
This, like, my personal problem with this is, and it's not just Zack Snyder's DCU. Like, I'm coming across this with Fantastic Beasts franchise as well. Like, I know that not everybody is a fan of it or stuff like that, and I know that there was a lot of backlash about a lot of things, but I'm looking at it and I'm like, there's supposed to be 5 films, and there is actually no books to read how it's going to end from. We know the basic how things gonna go, but we don't know the little things around and the little Easter eggs that came to play. And people are now, after 2 films, saying, oh, this is bullshit, this is retconning things, this is doing that. How do you know? 5 films,
exactly.
Still doesn't make sense. Yes, then come to me and say it's bullshit, but you haven't actually seen the whole story. So why on earth do you go and say this is bullshit? How do you know? How do you know it's going to be in some really brilliant way connected and end up in a way that you really want it to end up? You don't. You can't, because you haven't seen it yet. And that's the problem with the audience in the cinemas today. It's like, we have to have everything right now. No, we don't. You can wait.
I don't want everything spelled out for me either. Like, I don't want to be
exactly. I don't want to be spoon fed. I hate that. Literally, it's like you're a robot. Like you. I don't know. I want to think. Like, I know it's like people are like, oh, you're thinking too much. No. This is a good kind of thinking. This is the kind of thinking that too much that takes away from the thinking of too much of everyday life. So for me, it works.
No, I want to go to the cinema. I want to see the film, and I want to be like, oh my god, this makes so much sense when I look at the previous films. I want to be shocked. I want to be surprised. I want to be, screaming on top of my lungs and crying and really enjoying it. And all that momentum is gone if I get everything within one film. I'm sorry, it is. It's like the Martian Manhunter thing. Like, I'm just imagining what a shock, what a happiness I would have felt if I saw it for the first time in the cinema. If that scene cinema, because we didn't expect it. We didn't have any clue he's going to be there. And I'm just imagining how would I have felt and how suddenly I would see everything, Man of Steel and BVS in the context with it. And on top of all things, I remember, that's just a little thing that I remember, year before we started going to San Diego, there was the BVS announcement in San Diego. And Zack had, I'm sorry, I apologize right now, but what's the actor's name who plays Martian Manhunter?
Harry Lennox.
Harry Lennox.
And he came out and he read the quote from the comics that announced BVS happening. He was the one.
You want to know something? Sidetrack. I used that video from another Twitter user, and I quote retweeted it, and I said to Harry Lennox, I said, hey, Harry Lennox, do you remember this? Do you remember you doing this? It would mean so much to us if you could acknowledge or make a statement on the Snyder Cut. And then I did release the Snyder Cut. Like a tweet like that. He never responded.
No. It would have been so awesome.
Well, the question,
I thought the video would work.
Well, the thing is with that, like, after he was in that, like, after we found out and everything, and with the campaign, he might just be so caught up in all the notifications from people that he just missed so much,
Yeah.
Not that I want to defend or do anything, but you just never know.
Yeah.
But yeah, good strategy.
Release the Snyder Cut.
Yes.
Damn you. Warner Brothers.
Release the Snyder Cut right now. Release the Snyder Cut. I can do a cheer on this, okay?
All right,
Fuck
ladies.
you.
So I know we're having an amazing conversation, but we're hitting the 1 hour, 30-minute mark. So let's wrap it up a bit. Any closing statements you want to say about Man of Steel?
Yeah, that we'll have to do part 2.
Well, I just want to say that this movie means a lot to me. When I saw it, it was at a time in my life where probably one of my lowest times in my life. And just watching that movie just gave me hope. It gave me optimism. It gave me a purpose. Like, if he can get through all those struggles, I can get through the same kind of struggles that I'm having. And there's just something, it's a comic book movie, but it's so, I want to say it's like a heartwarming type of movie, but it really helped me put everything into perspective in my own life. And I think it really saved my own life. It saved me from making further bad decisions. And it kind of was like a turning point for me to get back on track where I should be. And since then, that's because if that movie wasn't around at the time, I don't think there would have been any other film that could have saved me around that time. I'm trying to think. No. So literally like a lifesaver.
It's beautiful, Kat.
Thank you.
Beautiful. I want to say something, and I will take a flag now. I'm taking. I hope nobody gets mad because of what I'm going to say, but I just want to say that regarding the backlash that Henry have had this week, I just want to say that it's not the first actor who acts politically correct under a job or under a studio. It's not the first time that an actor says something that maybe doesn't feel in order to agree with their bosses or whatever. And to me, it was shocking this week that we were praising him on Sunday, and on Monday there was this huge amount of crap on him. I just don't get it. I wish people to stop, because it's the same guy that you were praising on Sunday, and it looks awful that people do that, especially when they put all the thing on Sunday together. That's what I'm gonna say, and I take full charge for it. That's my flag. That's it.
Well,
Okay.
I don't know how to follow up from that. I don't know how to follow up from either statement, so...
Yeah, pretty much. Adrian, anything to say?
Oh, I just want to say something. You know, I am a big fan of Henry Cavill, and I do not think he is any of those things that people are calling him, Snake, and I don't know, just a bunch of horrible things. Yet, I can... and I know Cavill fans are going to hate me for saying that. Yet I can understand why those guys are saying that thing. Those things about him.
I think it's complicated, and we don't actually, we hear things, but we don't actually know all the details or whatever. But I just want to see him. I love Man of Steel. I love Batman v Superman. I know I'm going to love the Snyder Cut, and I really want to see him finish that, the arc out. That's what
Adrian, I didn't finish.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
What I was trying to say is, so the people who are against him, like, I don't have any issues with them. We are all one movement. We're one people. I know that we're all going to have different views on different actors within our, within the Snyderverse. And I think, that should be okay. People are okay to have their own opinions. People don't need to lose friendships over that. As long as you can maintain, like, a cordial relationship with them, things will work out. Infighting, a lot of the infighting that we saw today on the timeline, I tried to ignore it as much as I could. At this point, they are our people. They're one of us. We're all here for the Snyder Cut. And I just think that let them have their opinion, even if it doesn't coincide with your own. It's, even if you want to, you can explain nicely and whatnot. But when it starts getting aggressive, I think we just need to take a step back and just let them have their opinion. And it doesn't mean that I lose respect for people who don't like Henry. It's I still have respect for them because I can see where they're coming from. I try to understand where they're coming from. Like, whenever I read their comments about this, that, whatever their reasoning, I try to understand. So it's like, I know a lot of, like, the Cavill fans that are just only Cavill fans probably don't like me for that, but this is about Zack Snyder, so, and my loyalty is to him. So it's kind of I'm gonna start crying. All I'm trying to say is that I have a lot of mutuals who don't like Henry, and I am okay with that. I am okay with seeing all that on the timeline. Yes, does it hurt me? Yes, it does, because I'm about to cry right now. But, I can...
You're doing great, honey. Go on.
I can, even though all the hate and everything that they say, and this is literally, like, he's my favorite celebrity, I understand where they're coming from because they're doing it for Zack, and I love Zack just as much as they do. So I have to be able to be understanding for that. I can't disown them or start fights with them. I still respect them. They're still members of our own movement, and it's at that point where I've got to put my pride aside for trying to stick up for Henry and be like, no, this isn't about him. This is about Zack Snyder. And I understand where they're coming from. I'm putting my pride aside, and I'm not getting into any of those arguments or any comments, and I'm not saying that they shouldn't. If that's what they need to do, they're guys, let them do it. I'm not saying that they should, but if that's what they need to do, because that's what they're used to doing, that's fine. And I see it on my timeline, but I can just be like, I don't know.
That was honestly really beautiful, Kat.
It's just a very tough situation, and
yes,
and it's like two men that I really love, and
it's really hard to see people fighting over something that really doesn't need fighting over. And
I think that the thing is that we just don't see what's going on, really. And I think that we should treat each other how we want to be treated online, especially when we're discussing somebody who's not present for the conversation. But obviously, I completely agree with Kat. I've seen on my timeline, I've seen both sides of the spectrum. I've seen the people who try to remain neutral. I myself, I mean, I won't lie, I was sad and disappointed that he didn't tweet or, send an Instagram or something. But in the same time, I just can't see what's going on. He's still the best Superman that I can imagine.
And we can't judge him for it. We don't know his NDA. We don't know what he's legally allowed to say. If he says something, he could get legally fined or sued, whatever. We don't know the situation, so we can't judge him.
We don't know what's going on. We can't know what's going on. So, really,
even though I pray all the time, please, even though I'll do a little Lois Lane, gifts, like, please, Henry, save her, something to get her. Because I just want to add in the hashtag for our account, but it's I understand why he's silent, or I don't know why he's silent, but I'm gonna try to understand.
I don't know about silent, but I guess in the interview he did say something. He did say that he was trying. There was justice to be made for the character, and I got it. He said what he could say. That's my point.
I understand.
There is no proof there.
There is what everybody is looking for is the hashtag, and that's what I mean by silent in that way. I know that the interview, he's talking about Superman. It's still in his closet, and he wasn't silent on that. That I understood. But I'm telling you, as somebody, I'm gonna be like a devil's advocate and say, a devil's advocate is going to ignore, playing the other side, they're going to ignore all those other things that he said about him get justice for Superman and just focus on the hashtag. And that's what I'm trying to relay. Like, that to them, he didn't say it. So no matter what he said, it doesn't matter to them because the hashtag wasn't said. That's my understanding of it. That's me trying to understand them.
Yeah, and that's on the nose. Yeah. That's exactly what's the problem. But, it's okay. We all come from different places. We are all different kinds of people. And we perceive things in different ways. And at the end of the day, we are here for Zack. But there's no reason to hate on other actors or other directors in the DCEU for
or people
not
who
saying...
like the actors and the directors.
Yeah,
exactly.
Just because we have differing opinions doesn't mean we can't work together. That's what I'm always saying about people who attack other directors because they're not, like, out there openly saying, like, release the Snyder Cut or talking about how they're besties with Zack. It's like we don't know what's going on in their personal lives because this is their career as well. And we need to respect that. And if no one's actually sitting there in an interview saying terrible things about Zack, or bashing his work, then there's no reason to attack these people.
Yeah.
But Kat,
with that being said, obviously we all very much love Zack's work.
Exactly.
At the end of the day. And
yeah.
But Kat, thank you for that. That was really great.
Sorry.
A great moment.
It's too emotional.
No,
Today especially, it was just nonstop, and I'm just like, okay, there's a Margot Robbie. Let me retweet her. Let me retweet Amy Adams. Oh, arguments? Okay, let's skip over that really quick. Okay, keep going. Oh, they're still arguing. Keep going. Oh, look, there's a retweet the Snyder Cut. They're talking about the Warner Brothers. I don't know. I'm just blabbling on. But I'm just saying today was really hard. It was just, everybody was fighting. And then, I have a Cavill Mutual in my DM. I'm not going to say name, saying that I should block so-and-so, why my friends is so-and-so and so-and-so and so-and-so, and that I should block them because they were the biggest causes of arguments today. And I flat out said, no. Did they do anything to you? No. They're talking all this shit about Cavill and blah, blah, blah. Like, he's our man. Aren't you going to do something? I said, no, they're part of my movement. I don't agree with their view. But I'm not going to block them. I'm not going to unfriend them. I'm still going to be cordial and respectful to them. We are in the same movement. And that movement is for Zack Snyder. Nothing else. Agreed. And she was like, fine, be that way, and ended the conversation. But, that's what I said.
And that's a great way to look at it.
Yeah, but that's what it is, this movement has grown so much, and
I'm not, just because somebody has a different view than me, I'm not going to block them, I'm not going to unfriend them. Yeah. I will still, interact with them. I will still, sometimes they'll have funny tweets, and there are things that you guys, that we do agree on, and we're all in it for Zack, and I'm not that type of person who, oh my God, they said something bad about Henry Cavill, I need to block them right away. Like, no, this is not.
What I mean,
Cavill. This is
what I mean. Yeah, what I mean is that people should be able to be together with their differences. With there are fans with Gal, fans of Ben, all should be together, and. Bashing one of the cast, to me, it seems like works against the purpose of this whole thing.
I agree with that, but there's nothing we can do to stop them. They're going to do it. We can't gatekeep them. That's not our job. That's not something.
No. I don't talk about gatekeeping. I mean, there are people who has flags for the movement, and they should try to keep us together. See, I take full charge for what I'm saying here. Whoever wants to reach out for me and talk with me about this, okay. All I'm saying is that people who carry our flags should be fighting to keep us together, and that's not the way to do it. But I will repeat, I take full charge of what I'm saying.
I think even though we've had there might be disagreements and things like that, I think the fact this last week of all of us hashtagging and it taking off like wildfire shows that we are more together than we are apart.
True. Yeah. I agree with Adrian.
The truth is, we are all here for Zack. I mean, we've been going on with that hashtag. I think Abdul brought it first, or... Sorry if I'm giving credit to the wrong person.
It's movies that Maher guy... Yeah. Maher. He's the first person to use the hashtag today, 2 years ago today. So they were honoring him on the
That's the release the Snyder Cut, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, I'm talking about the hashtag the Here for Zack only.
Oh, that was started by Abdul.
Yeah, but that literally started, and that's basically what I think sums up a lot of us. We are, especially on Twitter, because I haven't been very Twitter active until we joined the movement. Up until a few months ago, I was asking Cole what to actually do with this thing because I had no idea. So, I think what puts us together is that we are here for Zack, and that's what we can agree on. And there will be many things that we don't agree on, and that's just what it is. There's a lot of people, they have different opinions. I can see the point that Danny makes. I completely agree with Kat as well. I just think that we should look at the positive side. As Adrian pointed out last week, was absolutely impressive. And when RT Snyder Cut said, hey, we've got an hour and we're going to do this and we're going to trend, it felt like everybody dropped every single conflict they had, and they went and they tweeted. And that
my friend James, he said he hasn't had any infighting in 5 days. He was so proud that was during the movement, during the week of the movement. Like, it was like
everybody dropped
everything,
and it was just that. It was just Zack. It was just Snyder Cut, and I think that was fantastic. And that was one of the best things about that week. And it's like, you know, then you got people coming out how we're toxic and all that stuff and all that and that and that. But the truth is, last week, yes, I didn't get any sleep. My hands still hurt, and you know, it's all that stuff. But in the same time, I had so much fun with you guys.
Yeah.
Oh my god, yes.
I'm sorry, but like we didn't.
It was like
even
so
get
many
the
creative,
film, but I had a
creative tweets.
Life.
I loved it.
Yeah, I think the love and the support and us all having the same unified mind for wanting the Snyder Cut to come out. You know, the other day I was having a rough day and I tweeted about it and I was showered with responses. We are an incredibly, I think, supportive, loving, caring group, even though we've got all different backgrounds, different, you know, colors, creeds, countries, everything. And we've come together for the AFSP, right?
Yeah.
AFSP, did you get the, the letters right? Yeah. And I think I see people supporting other people as well. So that the toxic stuff, you know, may get a little bit more, you know, flash here and there. But I think overall, everybody's really supportive of each other.
Yeah, definitely.
I agree.
And I think this is where we're going to wrap it up.
Yeah.
So, as always, release the Snyder Cut. And this is Snyder's Amazon signing off.